Hello, ladies. This is a very sensitive subject, and we hope we provide you with information you can use. Single moms understand in child custody, the legal connection between parents and their children is defined by the term child custody. There are various forms of child custody issues, but all child custody decisions must be made by the judge. In the earlier, the mother was more likely than the father to be designated as sole custodian. Courts, on the other hand, have developed to recognize the changing and evolving societal roles of the family, as well as the fact that more moms are working outside the home. Traditionally, it was considered that the mom was the best person to care for the child by default, and that mothers had the strongest attachment with their children. However, all courts must now adopt the child's best interest standard, which means that the father may be a better alternative for the child's best interests. The majority of custody rules are now gender neutral, favoring fathers over mothers. In most cases, single moms are granted full legal and physical custody of their children. If the mom was single and divorced at the time of the child's birth, she will be designated as the custodial parent with all the legal rights that entail. Especially if the child's father was not named on the birth certificate and did not come forward to claim his parental rights at the time of the child's birth. If paternity is never confirmed, the kid will be solely owned by the single mother. When the biological father of the kid seeks the court for joint or exclusive custody of the child, there are usually only child custody difficulties. Whether or not the mother was always married to the father, the same concerns can occur. As previously said, all decisions should be made with the best interests of the child in heart. If you are a single mother who believes your kid's biological father is unfit to be around the child and is not in the best interests of the child, you may choose to ask the family court to grant you sole physical and legal custody of your child or their various kinds of child custody. The courts make every effort to construct custody agreements that are in the best interests of the child. Following are some instances of different types of custody available to parents in the event of a divorce or separation. Legal custody. Legal custody confers the right and responsibility to make decisions concerning the child's upbringing, such as schooling, healthcare, and religion on one parent. When both parents are deemed to be fit, several states have a joint legal custody. In this situation, though, there is a lot of space for conflict to occur. Physical custody. Physical custody refers to the right to have your child live with you at your residence. This also covers everyday child care, such as keeping the child's schedule, providing clothing, providing food, and providing daily transportation. Some states allow for joint physical custody, in which a kid spends equal amounts of time with both parents. Parents can spend as much time with their children as they like, but they must live close enough to one another for this arrangement to function, to avoid disagreement that would damage the child. The parents would also need to have a functional and cordial relationship. So sole custody is simple. One parent is given sole legal custody and rights over their child. In most cases, the other parent is just given visitation rights, but unless it is in the child's best interest to be kept away from one parent's residence, modern courts are moving away from this custody arrangement. If sole custody is required, some courts offer extensive visitation rights when single parents are involved. This approach is usually the least disturbing to the youngster. However, the child's relationship with the excluded parent is severely constrained as a result of this arrangement. Joint custody. When parents share decision-making responsibilities, it is known as joint custody. In most cases, the parents will agree to alter their schedules to make the arrangement work if they cannot. The court will impose a schedule on the parents and force them to follow it. Joint custody can take the form of joint legal custody, joint physical custody, or a combination of the two. Children are assured of continued contact and involvement with both parents, and each parent is relieved of some of a load of parenting. The problem with this method is that the children must be shuttled around, and uncooperative parents may endanger the youngsters. Parental rights are fundamental. You and your former partner have equal rights as long as you and your child are properly cared for and all of their needs are met. These rights include the following: Code on 1 Custody authority to expect your child to obey and respect you. 3. The right to any money earned by the kid. File a lawsuit against anyone who injures or kills your child. 5. Rights accompanied by responsibilities. 6. Ensuring that your youngster is properly supervised. 7. Providing your child with the necessary support. 8. Ensuring that the child's requirements are satisfied. Make sure your youngster is safe when they are in your home. Make sure you have enough healthy meals on hand. Depending on the season, make sure you have heat or air conditioning. You should have access to running water and power regularly. Keep an eye on your child and make sure that the activities they are participating in are safe. Stop them and redirect their focus if you notice them ready to do anything unsafe. Factors influencing child custody: who is responsible for paying child support? It's no longer always daddy. You may be able to get child support from your kid's father due to your circumstances, but you should be aware of the formula employed by your court. The custody of your child is influenced by several variables. These are some of them: gender and age. If your child is a boy, make sure he has enough privacy to take care of his own requirements. He'll require his own bathroom and sleeping quarters. Age of the child. An older youngster needs more space than a younger one. A 14-year-old, for example, should not share a bedroom with a second grader, even if you don't have enough room for all of your children. The judge will consider this. You may be told to put 2 younger children of similar ages in one room, and reserve separate rooms for any older children you have. Number of children. The number of children has an impact on who receives custody. The judge may decide to give you primary custody if you have a larger home with more children. If you live in a 1-bedroom apartment, creative rooming arrangements may not go down well. Each child should have their own personal area. Your personal circumstances, such as your financial condition and age. You may not have as much money to spend on a larger home. If you are a grandparent having custody, you may not be rich enough to afford a larger property if you pay child support. The court will consider your efforts as long as you can demonstrate that you are doing your best. Your child's ability to adjust. Your child may find it difficult to adjust to a smaller home or bedroom. This will be taken into account by the judge when making a custody judgment. The judge will prioritize the child's best interests over any of these. Security. Your home and community should both be secure. If there is a risk of injury to your kid, you may be unable to have your child stay with you overnight. If you're considering relocating, do some preliminary research before signing any lease agreements. Have there been any crimes committed? Has there been a homicide in any of these? Yes, I'm serious. Check the online sex offenders registry to check if any criminals live in or near the areas you're considering. You'll have to answer these questions in front of the judge, and any of these circumstances could jeopardize your custody bid. Custody is divided into 2 types. Physical and legal custody are the 2 types of custody to consider. Physical custody means that your child spends the majority of his or her time with you. Joint custody occurs when your child spends time with both you and your previous partner. Legal custody is the second type of custody. You have the authority to make judgments about your child's needs here. It's joint legal custody. If you and your ex-partner share legal custody, just like it's joint physical custody, you will be in charge of deciding and agreeing on matters like religion, education, and health care. If you have sole custody of your kid, you make all of these decisions without consulting the father. These days, it's not usually the woman who receives custody. Father's rights are becoming more prominent, which means that judges are paying more attention to fathers' abilities to provide for their children's needs. The judge is much more likely to award custody to the parent who's been the main caretaker for the child. That parent should also be morally upright and financially capable of supporting the child's thought. It all boils down to the best interests of the child. It should be documented if one parent has a history of becoming abusive or neglectful. Your child's counsel may be appointed by the judge. A guardian ad litem is a person who acts as an advocate for a client. Visit attorney watches out for your child's needs during hearings if your connection with your ex-partner is tumultuous or if your child has been abused. Choosing child support. This is where a lot of parents find themselves in trouble. They do not have the right to child support. Everyone should remember that the child has the right to be financially supported. If you can contribute anything to your child's support as a custodial parent, your former spouse may be obligated to send you a share of their income on your behalf. Child support is usually paid by the parent who earns the most. If your ex-partner suggests he'll give up visiting rights in exchange for not having to pay child support, he's making a big mistake. Even if he decides not to visit with your child, he will still be asked to pay something for your child. Visits should be simple and pleasant. Whether your relationship with your ex is tight or not, Your kid deserves the least amount of drama when returning to your home or visiting his father. It's unquestionably less taxing on their emotions. Transferring your child from your house to the home of your former partner does not have to be stressful. Instead, attempt to put your anger and resentment aside while keeping the child's emotions in mind. When you see your ex, give him a friendly grin and let him know what's been going on in your life: homework, recent illnesses or injuries, and forthcoming events. You and your ex will be required to swap places regularly. You and your ex can alternate Christmas, Easter, birthdays, and Thanksgiving. Taking care of the problems. You will also have to know what services to turn to if problems with your child arise. Unfortunately, problems do arise. One parent can elect to use his or her power to keep the child's nice clothes or shoes. Child benefits may not be sent on a regular or timely basis. Since you are your child's advocate, you must know who to contact if anything isn't going as planned. Rather than confronting your ex with rage, inform your attorney. They will file the papers that will remind your ex to court to correct any mistakes in terms of child support. His earnings may be garnished, funds could be taken from his unemployment checks, or he could be in prison. Don't take your time, ladies, and watch again to gain as much knowledge as possible to help you succeed. Toodles.